Okay, good afternoon. My name is Carol Egan, and we're going to continue to talk about creating interactive lesson activities. Okay, so the skill that we're going to be using is the hide and reveal activities, and under hide and reveal there's actually three different types: move and reveal, order and reveal, and erase and reveal. Let's take a look at what those look like on the smartboard. So we have our question, we're Student Commons 2, and for the move, I have two objects that are covering each other, but apparently I have my pen tool on, so I need to go back up to selector, and I'm just going to erase that off, go back up to my selector tool and my tools panel, and now when I grab that rectangle, move it to the side, I reveal my answer, the Valley of the Kings. Move it back, and I hide it. The second one is order, where we actually use the order of priority of different objects to hide and reveal. In this case, I'm going to take my rectangle, move it down to my perimeter box, and you can see my answer, the Valley of the Kings. And lastly is the erase and reveal, and that's just what it sounds like. We use our eraser. So we can either take our eraser from the pen tray, or we can go up to our tools panel and choose eraser up there. I'm just going to use the eraser from the pen tray. So when I erase, I reveal my answer. Okay? Why, as an educator, would we want to use these different skills? Why would we want to hide information from our students? Okay, why don't you guys talk about that for a few minutes and then come back and give us some feedback? Well, great job, all that different feedback. I would agree that by using these tools, we can help some students focus a little bit more on the lesson. Also, adding interactivity typically increases engagement, and God knows we want our students to pay attention to us, if only for a little while. Okay? If you notice, I'm using the page tab forward out of the side tab window to move forward in my pages. So let's look a little bit more closely at each type of skill. The first one is to create a move and reveal activity. With move and reveal, you're basically using multiple objects on your page, layering them over each other, and then moving one to reveal something that's underneath. Okay? So I have a square here, I'm just going to move it to the side, and you can see I reveal my answer, parentheses. So what's the first step in the order of operations? Parentheses. Okay? I can leave that box to the side, or I can put it over the top. I'm going to leave it off to the side for now. How did I do that though? How do I go about creating that situation? Well, let's look. I can again have my question and my answer. And for you, if you'd like to follow along, go ahead, open a fresh page on your smart notebook. Write one question, right answer. It doesn't matter what it is. What color is the sky? Who's the President of the United States? What's the first step in the order of operations? Because I know you guys all want that. You all know that, right? I'm a nerdy math teacher, but go ahead and put that in there. And now I need to create a second object, or that square object, to cover the word parentheses. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go up to my tool panel and choose my shape icon. You'll notice that opens a contextual panel to the right with all different shapes. And I have a bunch of different shapes because I'm a math teacher. I like using different shapes. I'm going to choose the square shape, but if you wanted to choose square or something else, you can choose the ones there. Or they have this nice drop-down button. You can hit that and it will actually bring up additional shapes for you. But I'm going to go ahead and choose square because I'm kind of square, being a math teacher and all. And I'm going to put my hand on the board and just move it diagonally to the right to create my square. Once I'm finished, I want to make sure I go back up to the top. In my tool panel, hit my selector button. Otherwise, every time I touch the board, I'm going to generate another square. Okay, so with my square, I'm going to hit the square object. Now I can move it around on the board. I'm going to try to center it a little bit more over my answer. You'll notice when you click on it, you create this box around it and a little arrow in the top right portion of your object. If I hit that down button, it actually pulls up its drop-down menu. Okay, and tells you everything you can do to this object. What I'm going to do is actually fill this in with color by going to its properties. It will open the properties tab out of the side tab window. I'm going to go to Fill Effects. This is the first tab in the Properties tab. I want everything filled in. I like nice solid color. And I'm going to choose blue. It's already chosen, but if I wanted red, I could choose red or green. But I'm going to stick with nice bright blue. Okay. Once I'm finished, I just want to go out and I can click back on the page, and I have gone ahead and filled that completely. If I want to remove the tab, the Properties tab, I can go back up and just hit Page Sorter out of the side tab window. Okay. And now I have two objects, my answer and my square, and I can just grab the square and move it back and forth over the answer to hide and reveal. The last thing I want to do is just put a notice on there that you need to move the box. Because it's one thing if you're using your lesson, but if someone else is using it, they just see a question and a big blue box, and they don't know what that means. So what I like to do is I like to just put a little arrow in the box to tell them to move it over to the side. So I go back up to my shape icon. I'm going to use the little drop-down menu to choose arrow. Okay. Again, put your finger on the board, move it diagonally, moving left to right, and you create an arrow. I'm going to remove it by hitting the selector tool. Then I just need to hit on my object, and since I don't want the box to be moved up, I actually want it to be moved left to right. I'm going to grab the orientation button at the top and just spin it, okay, clockwise until I get it where I would like it to be. When I'm done, I just click on my page, I go back, click on my object, and I can move it right over into the box. Okay? So now I actually have three objects on the page. I have the arrow, I have the filled rectangle, and then I have my answer on the back. Okay? So what I want to do is I actually want to group together my blue square or rectangle. Remember, squares are all rectangles. So my blue square and my arrow, I want to group them together. So I just put my finger on the page and moved it diagonally left to right until I captured both of those items. And I know I captured them because they've been highlighted. We've been surrounded by the perimeter box. And I go over to the drop-down menu and I choose grouping and group. So now those two things are grouped together so that when I move the square, it moves the arrow and the blue filled square together. Okay? So that just gives a little bit more indication for people, hey, you know, you might want to move the box in order to get to your answer. Okay? We're going to move forward. And the next skill that we're going to look at is to create an order and reveal activity. Order and reveal is all about colors and layers. So you're layering colors and layers together, or ordering things by layer to hide and reveal your answer. So I have my question, what is the second step in the order of operations? Does anybody know? Does anybody know? All right, I know you guys are all big math fans. And we just take our box, I put it into the perimeter box, and it will now reveal my answer, which is exponents. But you guys all knew that, I'm sure. So again, box out, box in reveals my answer. So how do I do that? Well, here I have my question, my answer. And if you notice on the previous page, I actually had two squares. I had one solid and one that wasn't solid. So we already know how to make a solid square, so let's go ahead and at least start that process. We go up to our tools, choose our shape. And we're going to choose the square. And put my finger on the board, moving left to right, I draw that square around my answer. When I'm finished, I go back and hit the selector tool out of my tools. Okay. Because I have two squares, I click on that object, and rather than going through that whole process again, I'm just going to use its drop-down menu to clone the square that I have. So now I have three objects on my page, two squares, and my text box, or my answer, exponents. You know, I have objects up here too, but we'll stick with these. So I'm going to start with the first rectangle. I'm going to click on it, go to its drop-down menu, go to its properties, and again, I'm going to do a solid fill with blue. next I'm going to pick my second rectangle, use its drop-down box to go to properties, and I'm actually going to, oh, it didn't select it, so we got to do that again. Hit your object, the second square, drop-down menu, properties, and I want to go to line style, which is the second tab in the properties tab, and I want to choose a broken line style. And because I like everything to match, I'm also going to choose the color of blue. And lastly, I'm going to make my answer disappear by choosing to change its color. So I'm going to change the word exponents, and I did that by, I just double clicked on the text, I highlighted the text using my finger, and then I can use its drop-down menu to go to properties. And in text style, I'm going to choose the color, I'm going to move it from black to white, and I chose white because it's the same as my background, so that's what's going to make it disappear. So as soon as I'm done, go back out, click on here twice, and now I have what looks like to be two boxes. So again, I take this box, and oops, I move it over, but why don't I see my answer? Must be something wrong with my ordering, okay? I need to make sure that this filled rectangle is all the way in the back so that my white text can show up. So again, I just click on the object, go to its drop-down menu, and I go to the word order, and I send it to the back. Now, when I grab the object, my square, bring it over, it reveals my answer of exponents. Okay. Any questions? So let's look at our last one, erase and reveal. And this always bothers me to have the extra tabs open, so I always go back up to page starter in my side tab window. And the third one is erase and reveal. Again, pick up your eraser, just like what it sounds like, erase to reveal something. Okay, so let's create that together. Again, I have my question, my answer, and I need to erase this. But I can't get rid of the text. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use digital ink to cover this up. And once it's covered up, it's going to be gone. So first I'm going to mark it so that I know where it's at. I'm going to do that by choosing my pen icon out of my tool panel. I use the drop-down menu on the big pen icon, and I choose Creative Pen. And from there, I like smiley faces, so I choose smiley faces, and I just click my finger on the page. And there I've produced a smiley face. Go back to your selector tool, and then let's get some digital ink. I go back to my pens, and I can choose, I want to go back to my regular pen, so go to the drop-down menu with your big pen menu and choose pen. And you got to choose an actual pen color. Even though I don't want purple, I need to choose one first. I then go further to the right in the contextual box and grab onto the squares with all the different colors. We can choose white, and now I've made my pen white. If I go to the next contextual box, I can say that I want my pen to be really thick because I need to cover up that whole answer. So once I've done that, I can just take my finger and move it over my text, and it's now disappeared. Okay? And if you're going to have other people using it, you may use or write on there, erase to reveal. Okay? So that's it. Any questions?